Okay, I believe we are live. Wait for a few people to jump in here. And yeah, hopefully nobody caught my squeaking chair there. Really got to get a new chair or some WD-40. One or the other. Okay, so what the purpose of this live stream is going to be is hello, OMG, what's up, Chris? So yeah, I'm going to draw on the cover a little bit. You guys can ask some questions about the process. I'm also going to give you some updates on what my plans are for the book. You guys can tell me if I'm stark raving mad or you think it's a good idea, either or. And yeah, we'll just have fun with it. So I decided to change out the cover to book 1, okay, for the Blackstone book. So I still have that benefit because predominantly my sales in the Blackstone book are digital sales. So I think it'll make sense to swap it before I go to the full print. So it's like, can you draw DuckTales? No DuckTales today. I don't even think I could draw DuckTales, to tell you the truth. It's not really my thing. I used to love watching them, if that makes you feel any better. Say hi, Brick. Oh, you tricked me. I did it. Say hi, Brick. But yeah, so I'm going to switch out the cover. I think it'll look a bit better. I'm going to show you the old cover and get your feedback, because I think it's always important to like revisit your artwork anyways and see if you can improve upon something. Now, this is a more simplistic approach to a cover. It's just like, just a big headshot, right? Him just screaming. So there's not a whole lot there. You can see the aliens kind of coming up around the side and he's in pain, or, he's mad or whatever. So it's kind of like in my mind anyways, what I'm thinking here. Thanks, Laura. I appreciate that. Yeah, this is my character Blackstone, and this is a sketch I did of it, or of him for the book cover. So in my mind's eye, a cover like this is like, hey, it's simple. It's just an emotion, really, but it's like, hopefully will lead people to go, okay, what's inside? Now, my books don't typically sit on the shelf. Hopefully at some point they will. Or, this particular book sells more like online, and I'm going to try to get it on Comixology and things like that. But so hopefully it's more of a lead up. Now, when I originally did the book a few years ago, this was the cover. Let me show you that. I was actually already re-editing the cover, and I'll show you why. So this was originally the cover, and it's really busy. I think it's kind of bright and neat in a way, but then like I like the way the title came out, but his face looks weird. And the more and more I look at this, I just critique it so badly. The face just looks really strange. You can't tell if this is his eyes or these highlights on the cheeks are on his eyes or are his eyes. And one of the things you got to look at, like, when you're kind of analyzing your own work, is not just love it because it's yours. You gotta critique it. And looking back, I'm like, oh, I just feel like I could do a lot better now. So you guys can be the judge, but if you notice, what I did here is I blocked this out, or I turned it to a blue line, and I actually redrew what I think the face should look like, and I would actually eliminate or change the shape of those highlights on the cheek altogether. And see how the face looks different now? If I go back to that, whoop, go back there like that, to that. So hopefully you can see the difference. So it's just like one of those things where you start to look at your work and you're like, wow, I think I did that wrong. I could do better now. So it's either redrawing this pose or this scene or something entirely different. I started to do this right here where it's kind of a more, dark, not dark, but, downward headshot with the alien coming up. And then I ultimately went with this, and I just thought that this kind of, would look good from a distance as well. Like it'd read really well from a distance. So you guys are welcome to tell me what you think about that, and if if you're kind of identifying with what I'm talking about. And let me read through the comments here. What's your favorite action movie of all time? Huh. Oh man, that's tough. Die Hard? I don't know. I say that because I just watched that, or part of that roast of Bruce Willis, and I like the part where he's like, once and for all, Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. And a little swearing in there, but I don't curse. All right, so, oh, thanks, Brick and Brock. Appreciate that. So you like the cover? So yeah, would you guys like me to just work on this and we kind of talk about some of that? Because what I thought we could discuss on this portion of the work is how I kind of get to the highlights, maybe. So you know, just intervene and let me know what you'd like to see here. But yeah, sometimes what I'll do is I'll shade the artwork a little bit to kind of figure out where I want the light source, even though this isn't going to be a painting, but I'll kind of, it's easy with digital, just kind of throw in some gray tone and figure out my light source. I generally, on this character, can just figure it out as I draw it. So, but I'm just want to give you, some tips on how you could do it if you're not as accustomed to it. So, like I said, adding in some basic shadows can be a cool way to do that, just to kind of figure it out. Blue line those if you want. And then over top of that, I'll just draw in and I'll start to detail this a bit more. That's not your name? I'm sorry. I thought it was Brick and Brock. Am I misreading it? Definitely like the newer cover on the screen. Okay, thanks, Laura. Appreciate that. Yeah, so, you know, I like getting that feedback from everybody because I don't always know. You know, you get too close to your artwork and you kind of get like tunnel vision. You're like, well, I think it's cool, but does anybody else think it's cool? So it's, I really love that where I can show it on here and get you guys' feedback. That's awesome. So thank you for that. Yeah, so what I'm doing is I'm going to think about the light source. So I want like this bigger highlight off the top of the head. But like I said, from analyzing that old cover, I know that I got to be real careful with the way I do highlights on the cheeks and on the brows here, because I need it to read that, you know, these are his eyes. You know, so the eyes have to have a very distinct shape, and the highlights have to have a distinct shape that doesn't, you know, mistakenly read as eyeballs. So, but it still has to look like a cheek. So you got to do something like maybe this, and then curve it around like this, you know, whatever. There's lots of ways you could perceive this, but again, I just have to make sure that this shape does not, I don't do something silly and I do like a shape like this. And all of a sudden it looks like, where's his eyes? Or does he have two sets of eyes? Things like that. And another neat thing about a character like this, it's, you know, filled in like I have them, is you can actually fill in a lot of this and come back with a whiteout. You know, any of these brushes can turn to a translucent by clicking the ink brush and then this little bottom bar right there, and it'll turn into a whiteout pen or whatever, and you can do a lot of neat effects with just that. Ooh, that's a bad question, Brick and Brock. Yeah, so it was a long time ago. In fact, the first time Blackstone was published was in the back of another book that I was illustrating for a customer, for my publisher, and it was a short story back in like, God, late 90s or something. It was a long time ago. But then I recently did book one of Blackstone. This is actually a redo for the cover, like I said, because I'm gonna go with a larger print run now, hopefully. And so I basically did that. Oh, that's probably been 3-4 years now. So the span, but I'm almost done with book two, even though that doesn't even make it sound better. But the span of time is way too much. So what I'm going to quit doing is, for one, I'm going to quit like making excuses not to do the work. But I did have to get myself in a little bit better financial standpoint. And what I'm even thinking about doing real soon here, all right, I'm pretty much set to do it, is I think I'm going to run an Indiegogo campaign and try to fund the production of book one and book two and do print runs of it. Because basically, that's one of the things that always pulled me away from it. It's like I'd start getting heavy into it, want to knock out the books, and then I'd go, well, it's kind of interfering with, you know, commercial jobs. Like I was doing storyboards for a little bit, so I'd have to stop and do storyboard work. And, you know, so there's always been these excuses, and it usually resulted down to funding. So I've been studying Indiegogo a bit more, and I'm going to give it a try. I mean, I don't know if it'll get funded or not, but nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? So I just have to give it a shot and see what happens. And then hopefully that will allow me to get book one and two out and develop some kind of audience and hopefully make it sustainable. But, you know, that's pretty tricky with comics. I might have to have another gap before I get the next one's going, but we'll see. What genre is it? It's science fiction fantasy, I guess, or science fiction heroism. So basically Blackstone starts off as not a villain, but not a guy going out there trying to save the day. He was just floating throughout space, doing his own thing, wreaking havoc, really. And he comes in contact with this little squiggly thing you see that's all around him right here. And it ends up attaching to him and forcing him to, not at first forcing him to do good, just not allowing him to do evil anymore. And then ultimately it starts forcing him to do good. He's just trying to figure out a way to get this thing off his back, but now he's forced to be this hero. And he starts, through this process, he starts realizing why it's better to be the good guy, and why he's been using his abilities in all the wrong ways. So, not the traditional superhero vibe, he's not like out there saving the day just because he can. It's more like his past coming to haunt him. There's a lot with that comes out, like his past and why he is what he is and things like that. So hopefully it'll be fun for everybody. We'll see. Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate that. Glad you're interested in the concept. It's going to be interesting to do story after story, get the 2 books out there and get everybody's response, but then going to the next book and the next book and really seeing how the character develops. I've probably got about 5 books already planned out, but it's it changes as you go. That's what's neat about character creation and storytelling. It just new ideas present themselves, and things develop as you go. Some things come out better than you hoped, and some things don't, and you just keep on going. So yeah, with the glares here, I want to figure out how to get a nice glare on the front bridge of the face. Well, it would be where there's a nose, but I wanted the character to look more alien, so I didn't give him any ears or a nose. So I just got to kind of pick some areas where there's a little bit of highlight. Like this will probably all be in light right there, and probably a little bit to the side there. And then I generally will leave little highlights around where the lips would be, so that all this doesn't just blend in. But the teeth pretty much help to convey the shapes anyways. Oh no, I got a dislike? Oh man, is my mom here? I don't get it. Some people just don't like me. I don't, it's probably my voice. I got a very nasally voice. Hey, I meant to ask you guys, I changed some audio settings in OBS. Does it sound okay? Probably someone misclicked. He. Well, that sounds awfully, you have a guilty tone in your text there, Zero Factor. Was it you? Or had the screen upside down? Nice. Yeah, I'm sure that's what it was. But yeah, let me know if the audio is okay, you guys. I made some changes in OBS because somebody complained about the audio last time. And yeah, it's pretty distracting. It was doing this clicking, popping noise. I don't know what the deal is. I probably have a virus. You guys are I shouldn't say it. You guys probably click off the video. Virus, I'm out of here. Rob's got a virus. Oh, you like the vid? Sweet. At least I have 13 likes. Yeah. You can't buy into that stuff too much anyways, because it'll stress you out. I've noticed. I'll do that where I'll publish a new video, and I did do that more. I fight it now, but I'd want to go look and see how many people liked it. And it's like, you just can't do that. You just got to make what you're going to make, enjoy the process, and you guys are going to tell me if it sucks anyways. I guess the thing is, you learn more from the comments than somebody clicking like or dislike. Like or dislike doesn't really mean anything, but the comments mean everything. You know, I do read through the comments, and I'm not gonna disregard those and say, oh, well, they just don't know what they're talking about. No, the comments do matter, but the likes and dislikes are less important to me at this stage. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I like my likes. Keep clicking the little like button, but it's not going to break my heart if you hit the dislike button, zero factor. We know who you are. You got 80K subs. Are there any bots? I don't know. What do you mean bots? Some of those can be bots, you're saying? Yeah, I hope I don't have any bots. A little glare here on the chin. I don't know. I just want to hurry up and get to 100K subs because I heard, and I think it's still this way, they give you like a YouTube plaque for your wall. And I just thought that'd be really cool to get one of those, make a video about it, whatever, you know. And but I know how they change things all the time. So I'm like, I'm almost there, you know, it's still a ways away. But I could just see getting there and they switch it and say, nope, now I got to get to 200,000. I'm going to be so ticked, but hopefully they won't switch it. Oh, thanks, Nathan. I appreciate that. You got the book. Sweet. Appreciate the support. Oh, got it, Laura. No, these are all natural. My YouTube subs are El Natural. I didn't do anything special. I just made a lot of videos. Like I think I have like, I don't know what it is, like 500 videos or something. But it took a while for it to really pick up. Like it was very slow for the first year or two. So like whenever somebody asks me now, like, you know, how do I get my YouTube off the ground? I'm like, repetition and just be ready. Like it takes a lot of work, but it picks up speed, and then it's a momentum thing. You know, it's like once you get it kind of rolling, it just, you know, it's got some momentum and it carries its own weight. I guess it just keeps moving, um, but yeah, it took a lot of videos before it started doing that. Let me read through these real quick. Apparently the plague takes ages to arrive. Okay. The plague or the plaque? Is that the same? All right. Due to you, I've improved a lot in the comic book, and I'm probably going to publish them in a few years. Keep up the good work. Yeah, thanks. I always love hearing that. I'm glad that it's helped you get better. PewDiePie. Who's PewDiePie? No, I'm just kidding. I know who PewDiePie is, but you just typed PewDiePie for some reason. Don't name drop on here. That dude's big enough. Nobody needs to know about PewDiePie. He's massive. Do you like drawing realistic portraits? Occasionally, yeah. I do Photoshop ones every now and then where I'll just like put a picture up on a screen and then I'll airbrush or paint on the other screen. Yeah, thanks, Laura. Appreciate that. How long have I been drawing for? Says El Mito? God, most of my life. I mean, I've taken some breaks here and there, but I am 42. I enjoy long walks on the beach. No, I'm 42 and I've been drawing probably 35 of those years. Solid. Yeah, I've always drawn. But don't let that discourage you, or hopefully it encourages you, but if it discourages you, don't let it. I've definitely seen people that are a lot younger than me that are way better. So I don't think age is really a factor. Because like I said, I took some breaks, and I know a lot of people will do that. Well, they'll draw really heavily for a while, and then they'll stop and pick it back up and things like that. And then just some people figure out their style quicker. I don't know. I can't really quantify it, I guess. But the main thing is just don't stop drawing. Whatever you do, draw every day till you got blisters on your fingers. That's how you get good, folks. Oh, I thought you were 60. Thanks. Man, you're just a nice little friend there, Brick and Brock. Even if PewDiePie has more subs, you're better than him. I don't know about better. I mean, I don't think I'm better than anybody, but oh, at drawing, I got you. No, I've never really seen his art, to tell you the truth. He's more comedic though, right? He's more into the comedy and the games and all that, isn't he? I never seen him draw, I guess. I didn't know he did draw. Okay, so we got a lot of the lines in there. You see it's starting to read without that. I could have just inked that, but I like to just clean it up one last time. And a few more lines and I'll start dropping in some inkage. I think you'll see some of these back teeth right here too. Do you compare art to when you were younger to now? Oh yeah, definitely. It's my art when I was younger was horrible. Why do you like comic style of books? You know, I think it's just because when it's what led me to want to draw professionally. Because when I picked up a comic at 15, I was like, whoa, this kind of blew me away, and I was like, I want to draw comics for a living, and so that's really what led to it. So maybe it's a tiny bit of where I got my inspiration and nostalgia, but I don't know. I just like the art form. I just think it's really cool to sit around and you know, create your ideas. Even fan art. I love just sitting around drawing fan art. I mean, if I could, I probably would just do that if I get paid for it. But I do like telling my own stories as well. So I guess my dream come true would be sitting around drawing this book and not having to really do a whole lot else. But you know, I'm a little bit more realistic in terms of like, you know, I feel like I need to do a couple things to stay valid or something, validated. I don't know, just stay busy. So I do a few things, but if I'm drawing comics and paying the bills, I'm pretty darn happy. That's all I gotta say about that. So which you prefer, comic style, 80s or 90s? Definitely 90s. I mean, just again because that's when I got into it. So, or when I really started collecting. So I'm still really into that style of drawing. I know that's not the popular style. It seems like it's starting to make a comeback though, but I just love how everybody was packing in the detail. And then now there's a lot of books where it's very light detail in some instances, very simplified. And that's cool. I mean, I like the idea that those books probably come out on time every time. Uh, but I really like tight styles like, you know, like Jim Lee or Silvestri. I just saw some stuff he's doing on Batman again. David Finch, you know, all their really hyper detailed, stylized work is probably my favorite to view. You know, and in a sense to emulate. You know, because that's where a lot of this comes from. Is, you know, me probably trying to draw like them because when I was a kid, those are the guys I collected their books. You know, McFarlane and Liefeld and all those guys. But you know, 80s aren't bad either. I still look at books from the 80s and they're cool. Is it possible for someone who is already 40 to get good? Uh no, you should probably give up. No, I'm kidding. No, of course not. It's never too late. Um, I'm 42 and I took a big time out, you know, and did some other stuff. So, you know, I definitely don't feel like it's ever too late to do anything, but definitely not art. I mean, shoot, look at Morgan Freeman. He didn't start acting until he was 40, I think. Still had a wildly successful career. Um, there's a story in one of these books that I got somewhere, a book that I read, where a lady wanted to be a lawyer, but she waited for her kids to all get out of school so that she could go back to school. But then she tried to, or she did overcompensate time-wise and worked her tail off, and not only became a lawyer, but worked so hard that she became a judge and ended up being one of the younger judges. So it just shows how you can compensate for that time. You know, time's relative. You just have to, you know, put what's important to you up front. That's probably the hard part. You know, it's easy to make excuses. You know, like I know I made a lot of excuses for my art. Like, oh, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. You know, art will come later, and you know, you just have to figure out a way to put it front and center. That's the hard part. How often do you draw? Every day. I mean, I very rarely take a day out, especially I got yeah, Nifty Rosa one, never too late. I've seen that. How often do you draw? Always. And then if I got an iPad Pro, and I pretty much take that with me almost anywhere. I shouldn't. There's times I need to really leave that sucker at home, but it does make it easy to draw wherever I go. So that's my sketchbook on the go. Have you ever streamed on Twitch? Yeah, I did. I don't know. It didn't feel like it was the right platform for me. I just felt like it was, well, to tell you the truth, it was nice, but it felt like I was adding an extra step into what I do. So I pulled back, and I deactivated my account there, and I started just live streaming on here. So it just seemed like it was one less step that I had to worry about. Like I could just do it all right here. I mean, I know some people really prefer Twitch though, and there's probably some real benefits to live streaming on Twitch, but yeah. I got too many platforms, you know, like even with the whole social media thing, it's like, you know, you're tweeting, your Facebook, and your Instagramming, and it's like, man, it just gets to be a lot. So, you know, it's back to that thing of finding the time to draw. You got to really make sure that you don't indulge into too many other things, or you're going to eat up that time to draw. Have you tried using a separate color from the eyes, from the highlight, so that you can tell them apart from the eyes? Just wondering because you mentioned it earlier. No, it's a great observation or suggestion, Laura. I'm definitely going to do that. And yes, I have. I don't know why in that particular cover shot I did that. Yeah, really strange that I didn't pick up on that, but you're right. I'm definitely going to, I even like putting like maybe a green or yellow, or maybe a golden yellow eyes or something, but yeah, distinctly different from the skin. You're right. What's your daily drawing routine? Do you draw in shifts or one big go? Yeah, I pretty much I scribble a lot until I get inspired. So like I do a lot of sketching and thumbnailing. So I kind of bounce around, but it's mainly like right after I get up, and then I'll take breaks throughout the middle of the day. You know, work out, do you know, eat some food. Sometimes both of those at once. And can you picture that? You know, bench pressing with a slice of pizza. But you know, so like you know, I'll take those breaks to kind of recharge my batteries anyways, then come back and then start drawing again. But then I also notice, like, when I get the bug to draw, or when I start feeling kind of the ebb and flow, like things just start clicking and I start drawing a little bit better, I'll let everything fall to the wayside, because I need to like really utilize that time to get the most out. So it's funny how that works with art. Like you really do have to take advantage of those strides that you get. Nathan says, have you ever tried to work for Marvel or DC? No, you know, I'd love to, in a sense. I mean, I don't know how you would. Like you know, it used to be you'd send stuff to them, and then it turned into this thing of like, no, they'll find you. I started watching more and more videos, because there was that moment there where I was really trying. Like I was like, you know, trying to improve my art and show that I could draw backgrounds and stuff like that. But then there was nowhere you could send it. You just had to like keep posting work and hope they'd find you. And it just seemed a bit strange to me. Like that can, if that's real, I'm not getting the calls. So I don't know. So yeah, I've never worked for those guys. So that's why I do my own book. But hey, if no one's gonna give me a job, I'll just give myself a job. And while I'm at it, I'm gonna give myself a raise. But no paid vacations. I will not do that. Not even for me. I like me, but not that much. Your comic book cover, remember, of Todd McFarlane style? Yeah, it probably does. Yeah, it does kind of look like Spawn, doesn't it? Dang it. Well, my guy is shiny and smooth. Spawn is wrinkly. Now, if I started doing this, we could turn it to Spawn real quick. We'd have to do a bunch of wrinkles and nasty stuff. But my guy is smooth and glossy. Okay? That's the difference. Well, I could see that because I was a big Spawn fan. I am a big Spawn fan. I shouldn't say was. Todd McFarlane's art is one of the things that got me into drawing comics. Probably the thing that got me into comics because I picked up Spider-Man #1 and was like in utter amazement. The one where he's sitting on all those webs. You know the cover. Had the gold, silver, different covers. You could like collect the whole set. Yep, I fell for that. Then I lost half of them, had to buy them again. That was lovely. You should join Comicsgate. What is Comicsgate? If you don't mind me asking. Looking back, Todd uses too many lines on the face of all his characters. Yeah, but you know what I think he's doing, besides just, really pushing his style, is texturizing. It gives a lot of depth when all the different things on the page have a variety of texture. So that's one of the reasons why you see me doodling so much on the alien portion. So the character's nice and smooth, but the alien on his back is all grimy and, eerie looking or whatever. And it just provides nice contrast in the shot. But yeah, he does use a lot of lines. I always liked that though. I always thought it was really dynamic in the way that he did it. And he was very free-flowing with his line work. It wasn't so overly tight and rigid to where everything got real stiff on the page. His stuff always had a bit of a lot of like a flowing vibe to him. Everything was very organic feeling. Let's see. Did you watch Spawn HBO in the 90s? No, I need to pick it up. That was the real dark version, right? Everything was real gruesome and morbid or something. I mean, the character pretty much is, but how do you find catchy names for characters that will draw in a crowd? I don't know. I tell you, if you're talking about naming superhero characters and character development, picking names is getting harder and harder for obvious reasons, right? It's like all the good names have been taken, and if you notice, like people are starting to do very names that don't even relate to the character's powers anymore because that's all been done. So you're gonna get somebody that has the power to destroy matter, and their name's gonna be Tim. They're not gonna have like a superhero name. They're just gonna go by their name, Tim. But it's like it's all been done so many times. It's getting really tough. Or you're seeing those characters like what's that one from Deadpool or whatever, Super Mega Sonic Teen Warhead or something crazy. And I listen to that and I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. Like because they're running out of names. They got to like really build upon the basic names and elaborate. All right, and I could probably just start inking this because this is just really repetitive. I probably didn't need to draw on as many of these lines as I did, but I do like to get a little bit of feeling for the shading that I'm going to use. So I'll probably block in some shadow like this, so it looks more dimensional. Any questions on this, by the way? Are you guys content? I'm drawing on your logic. Nice. I don't know if it's logic. I do my best. What are the blue lines for? Just for reference, I actually, as I work up on a sketch like this, I blue line the previous layers till I get enough of the pencils. Like even this, I'll end up blue lining this and then I'll ink over that. And then I keep taking the previous layer and knocking it back. So that's just kind of how I build up on it. And it's actually ready to ink. So I'm just going to drop a layer over top, jump in here and start inking. One thing I like about these simplistic cover designs, I can get them done a lot faster. And speed is the name of the game, right, folks? How do you know your artwork is done? When it's colored? No, well, the interior of my comic is black and white, so when it's all inked and the word balloons are on it, it's done. But for the cover, it's going to be color. I know I halfway thought about trying to do the Indiegogo and go for a color book, which would be awesome, but I think it's just reaching too far. I'll probably just do book 1 and 2 in black and white and be happy with that. That's something I want to ask though, while I got you guys here. If I do an Indiegogo, and not saying, hey, would you support it or nothing like that, but if you did see an Indiegogo campaign like that, what's some of the rewards that make it seem beneficial? Because I saw some and they were like, you know, hey, support this and you get a copy of the book. I'm like, okay, that doesn't seem like that big of a reward. So, I mean, I could see a signed copy of the book, but then what are some good ideas for rewards, if you don't mind contributing some ideas? Like, would you want prints, t-shirts, some original artwork, coffee mug, keychain? Oh, that'd be a bit tacky. T-shirt sounds good. Okay. Yeah, because I got to get creative and come up with some rewards that, you know, that make it beneficial. I don't want to be like Deadpool and be like, hey, for your support, you get a crisp high five. Thanks so much. Character design is so cool. Thank you. There's so many alien species in comics and films. It's hard to create original looks, but there's something satisfying about the simple and detailed look your character has. Yeah, thanks, Laura. I appreciate that. Copy of the book with some drawings. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking about doing like a bunch of quick sketch cards too. I mean, depends on the level or whatever. And then that way, you know, actually being able to give out some original art, but then you got to be careful of like how many, you know, like I guess I just got to, you know, draw it all out on paper and see how it goes. But I know there's definitely some pitfalls where you got to be careful how you structure it. Like shipping is one of them you always hear people talk about, like, oh, I got the shipping wrong and I lost a bunch on it, and you know, but then they learn and they fix it for the next run or whatever. Oh, my universe, thanks for that. Glad you can make it to the stream. How long did it take you to become this good? By the way, outstanding work. Thank you very much. I don't know. You know, you get better every year. I look at my work from 2 years ago and I kind of cringe a little bit in some places. Some of my work I think is okay from a couple years ago, but yeah, there's certain elements of it. Like I look back about 5 years ago and my faces were really bad. So it's weird how that works. You know, you improve certain aspects of your work, and then so yeah, you never know when that's going to occur. You just got to keep pushing. Your best bet will be to offer items not available to everyone else, and remember to factor those into your costs. Yeah, for sure, Jesse. Thanks. Do you like speed, or do you take your time and try to go for accuracy? You know, that's a tough one because I do feel like I want, you know, a very accurate representation of what I'm seeing and what I'm going for. But that being said, that can be a really bad habit as well. Like you need to learn to let go and go for speed. If you don't, good luck getting these books done. Because I've definitely seen that in my own work where I've labored over certain pages too long and they took way too long to get out. So I'm making myself be more and more aware of the time, and even making certain what's the word? Letting certain things go that I would ultimately, before I would have like labored over it and redrew a bunch of times. You just can't do that. In fact, I would say that probably the most helpful way to do it is not really saying that you're not going to go back and redraw a certain thing that bothers you. Fix the things that are the most obvious, right? That bother you the most. Get those out of there. But go through everything, the entire book, in a singular pass. If you can do it in stages like that, you can really maximize your time. So for instance, if you thumbnail the entire book, which I totally recommend, you know, from start to end, do rough sketches on every page and concept it all down, and do another layer where you, you know, you tighten up all the work. And, you know, it's hard to do this, but what I'm saying is if you do that, especially if you do it on the entire page, if nothing else, but if you do it through the whole book, then you can kind of get everything done. And if you have any time left over, you can go back and get rid of those bad panels or something. But you can't really do that in the other way. Like you can't labor over every panel and then all of a sudden get to your deadline and go, well, I'll just speed through the rest of it. It's going to be very, very apparent. It's going to, you know, you're probably going to lose some fans or get kicked off the book or something, I would imagine. So I would say do everything in layers and go through the entire book, get it all done, and then you can always go back and adjust some things if you have to. Easier said than done, but that's something I'm trying to not only preach but practice. Can you do like Jim Lee Hush comic book, show different style of character design? I don't understand what you're saying there. Can I do character design? Is that what you're saying? I don't want to like different show a video where I do different styles of character design. I use a Cintiq. Oh yeah, Bizarak answered. Thank you. Is that the comic style canvas? What does it do? You mean the page layout that I'm using? Is that what you're talking about? This thing, the back template. That's what you're asking about. It just shows me my margins so I know where to put my art so I don't draw in the wrong spot and then it gets cut off when I go to the printer. That's what you're talking about. Come on. I'm gonna throw that line into place. Giving me trouble. Stupid line. There we go. Oh yeah. Sorry, answered before I read it out loud. When you first start drawing, did you struggle with expressions? Definitely. I actually forced myself to draw expressions, not daily, but definitely weekly now, where I kind of would just draw the same expression all the time. And I'm like, I really got to break this habit. Just like with hands, you know, like when you don't feel confident with hands, you got to make yourself draw hands all the time until you finally start to figure it out. I've actually been feeling a lot better about drawing my hands lately, but expressions can be really tricky because well, if you guys saw the video I just did with the Joker and Harley Quinn, that was actually me practicing expressions, but it turned into the Joker and Harley Quinn because I like doing fan art too. So, but you have to make time to practice expressions because it's, you know, such a huge part of your storytelling. So if you don't make time for it, you just your characters won't be as lively. Your story, your narrative won't be as cool, or as dimensional or whatever. Just as cool as it could be. So practice expressions all the time, and the main thing is to combine the expressions. That's what you really need. I mean, if you look at any good comic art and Disney stuff, you notice they're doing a bunch of combined expressions. I noticed it in Shrek a lot too. Like they did a really great job with the expressions, and everything was a combined expression. It wasn't just like happy, sad, you know, mopey. It was like a, you know, the mixed expressions that you get from characters as they're really interacting with each other. They're not just, not everybody's just walking around either mad or happy, you know, and that's how some comic art comes across. Like you'll see an artist and they do pretty good, but then every character is just screaming as I'm doing my character and he's screaming. But you know, they're like screaming and they're supposed to be talking in the scene basically. I always think that's funny, you know, it's like you can't have everybody just screaming the whole time. My character has a reason he's screaming right now, so. Yeah, thanks, Yakuza. Appreciate that. Very nice of you. Hard to draw hands or feet. Yeah, I think I think feet are actually harder, which is so weird because the hand has so many different expressions that it can do, and it's easy to spot bad hands because we look at each other's hands a lot as we talk because people talk with their hands. So it's they're almost as evident when they're wrong as anything else in the face. And but feet are something is just really easy to get wrong when drawing feet, and they just yeah they stand out. I guess it's because we don't really sit around studying each other's feet as much as we should. So yeah, we should really be checking out each other's toes more often. But it's funny how you can always tell a good artist, well, not always, but generally you can tell a good artist by how well they can draw hands. But I guess that could be said for a lot of things. Oh, I missed a couple. Hold on. What about breaking bad habits? Um, just diligence, persistence. Seek out the problem and then draw things to beat it, every day. That's all you can do. What is the comic style you're using? I'm searching for a style that suits me. This would just be considered American comics. I mean, I have a lot of people tell me I do a very 90s style. Laura says, this might sound dumb, but what about having a page in your book with names of people who support you on that site you mentioned? Not sure if that would work though. Oh, I see what you're saying. So put their names in the book for supporting, right? Is that what you're mentioning? That might work. I mean, I've seen people do that as well. How about proportions? Does it just come natural when you draw, or do you approach drawing proportions accurately? I that's a tough one for me. My proportions are another problem area for me. Because I work digitally, I can maneuver things pretty quickly by selecting and transforming the size, and I do that a lot. But I've also studied a lot of, mapping techniques, like the distance between the eyes is equal to one eye. The distance between the eyes is generally the width of the nose. The mouth usually comes up to the middle of the eye, so I pay attention to things like that, but I skew proportions a lot. And then I think what happens too, the more you get into doing your comics, you start skewing your proportions naturally, like because of style choices anyways. So it's basically just, how accurate you really want them to be. Like if you're going for realism, then proportions are very necessary. And they're necessary in general, but it's one of my weaker attributes to drawing. Like my proportions are off. Like I was studying, I was watching Clayton Barton's proportions lessons, and I realized that, man, he's got way more structure for his proportions than I do. I was just kind of drawing things. I know a few of the things, like when you draw an arm, the elbow lines up to the navel, and like the head, if you go four heads down, it's the bottom of the crotch and things like that. So there's some tricks that you learn as you keep going, and that helps you kind of rein all that stuff in. But some people are a lot more aware of it than I am, and then others aren't. There's some styles where proportions go right out the window. Like Joe Mad comes to mind, or there's a lot of them. What's his name? Patrick Brown's art, very skewed proportions, just stylized. Yeah, I did want to make sure to mention too. Clayton Barton just did an interview. He had me on his podcast. I'll make sure to link in the description when I'm done with the video, because this will go live on the channel. You guys should check that out. Not because it's me getting interviewed. That's not what I mean. But it was just very nice of Clayton to do that. So be sure to check out howtodrawcomics.net. I was really honored that he asked me to do that. And him and Rick were the hosts, and they did a fantastic job. It was just made me feel special. It just felt all special. But it was nice of them. They asked me to do it, and I'm like, who, me? Like, sure, that'd be awesome. And then I just turned around and interviewed a longtime buddy of mine, comic guy, Randy Zimmerman. And I don't know if you guys just saw that video. I just put it up, or actually it's more of a podcast than a video. But we talked about how to, just some tips on how to self-publish, how to get your comic out there. And Randy came to mind when I thought of somebody to ask. One, because he's local where I'm at, but then the other thing is he's put out, like, I want to say he's over 100 books at this point in his career, and every kind of thing you could think of. It's like almost even hard to pinpoint the character types because he's done so many. So yeah, it was nice to have him in the studio and recording, and picking his brain a little bit. I'm going to try to do more of that as time goes on, because I want this channel to be a great resource for everybody that's, maybe aspiring to do their own comic or just trying to get better at drawing. I mean, obviously that's what the main focal point has been thus far, but I want it to be a nice range. Like you can take, your drawings and make something out of them, like a little mini comic or something. I'll be able to offer all the stuff that goes into that. So I'll share more as I learn, basically. Let's see, I missed some of these because I was yapping. Would you like to do what Jim Lee does? Yeah. Let me finish reading it, I guess. I mean, he draws on stream different characters and he shows like the basic shapes to a final detailed draw. Yeah, I mean, Jim Lee's, I'm not going to try to church it up or, you know, make it sound like I'm better than I am. Jim Lee is a lot better at drawing than I am and a lot faster. You know, he could do this stuff in his sleep. So I'd like to do more of that, but his speed is, you know, I can't match that speed. You know, I don't think there's a lot of people in comics that can match his speed, much less me. You know, it's like I'd love to be that fast, and maybe someday, I don't know. I don't know that I'll ever be that fast. That dude's just really fast at what he does. It would probably be a lot longer stream for me because I've seen him do some of those, and he knocks something out pretty amazing in like 45 minutes. You know, if it's like a headshot, I could do that, but I don't know about full characters like he does. Do you look through drawing books every now and then? Oh yeah, daily. Um, I've been flipping through my Bern Hogarth and Andrew Loomis books, like still. I mean, I always look through those. If you can draw cubes, cylinders, and spheres and put them in perspective, proportions seem easier. Yeah, for sure. Those are some of the basic methods to figure that stuff out. It's all relationships, you know, size relationships. This, I'll tell you, this is one of the easiest ones to master, I think, is if you take like this rectangular shape that's supposed to be for the, you know, the box for the number, the price, and all that. And you go like this, and that gives you center, right? That simple technique works so well because what you can do is you can draw anything, even in perspective, and do the same thing, and you can find center. So that right there will help you immensely with perspective. You just have to use it and, you know, draw it lightly and then come back with a, you know, a draw over, whether it be a layer or you just soft erase it down and redraw over top. It works on the face. It works everywhere. Works really well for buildings and windows and things like that, but it works for your character design as well. And I think what happens is after you start to do that for a while, you just get better at spotting when things are out of perspective, and then you need that less and less. So it's not like you always have to do that. It's one of the things that you do in the beginning to try to get it right, and then after a while you start just seeing it, and you don't have to use all those same basic techniques to get you to where you need to be. Oh, I switched the stupid... Is that my ink pen? Oh, made a boo-boo there. Nice. What are the chances we can see some graffiti from you? I left my spray cans at home. No, that's awesome. I actually, that's one of the first things that I remember doing. I mean, I drew pictures when I was real little, but I went through, you know, I grew up in the city, so I went through a stage of graffiti. It's funny, one of my fondest memories is went to Italy to visit my family and or meet my family, I should say. And some of my cousins, my cousin and his friends held me up on their shoulders, and I got to tag on a wall that they told me it was legal wherever we were, but who knows. But yeah, I got to tag on the wall, and you know, they knew I was an artist, so they were like, you know, paint something over here, and yeah, so I got to paint something in Italy. That was a pretty cool experience. Never forget that one. All right, almost ready to start filling some of this in. Are we doing it the slow way? I got to be careful right here. Like I said, I want to make sure this doesn't read as an eye, but like Laura said earlier in the stream, I just got to make sure to use a different color for the eyes. That's probably the easiest way, but I think that you still want to make sure the shapes read independently from each other. So like instead of, like if I was to just complete this like that, it might make it a touch more confusing, but I could probably just bring this line over and connect it to this. And then it should read a little bit differently. Just little changes in the shape like that can do a bit of good for the artwork. Which part of the body is the hardest for you to draw? The pinky toe. No, just I would have to say hands. There's certain angles of eyes on women that are still really hard, and I have to redraw them countless times till I get it right. But it's probably for the most part hands. Like I'll even find myself, you know, go to certain hand poses that I'm comfortable with because they're just, some of them are really, really insanely hard to draw. Or I'll start taking pictures of my own hands and draw from that for reference. Where did you create the Blackstone letters? I drew them on paper and then I vectorized them. I used to do a lot of vector graphics, so I clicked around them with Bezier handles and cleaned it up in Adobe Illustrator. The beauty of that is, like, I mean, I don't know if you guys, anybody here does vector graphics, but you can scale up your letters as big or as little as you want and they don't lose clarity. So if you ever got a serious logo, you should take the time to vectorize it because it's just, you'll always have it and you can do whatever you want. It's cool because like vector logos can transfer to almost any other art style flawlessly. Are forearms hard? Yeah, the anatomy of the forearm's hard. The shape of it, the perimeter shape isn't hard at all. But then, you know, what I always look at with those is like, say you're doing, I don't got any room on the page here. I just zoom up right here. But say you're doing the shape of the forearm, it kind of looks, let me see. Kind of looks like this, right? Like the wrist thins out, the back's more elongated, the top or inside muscle's more short and abrupt like that, and the wrist widens out. It widens out right there before it attaches to the hand, and then the muscle comes up and kind of does like this. And then the trickiest part I always find are these ones that string out and attach. I think these are the ones that control the fingers. They go to the back of the hand like that. And then you got one here, you got the elbow. So it's real easy to like get that wrong. And in fact, I don't even know if this is right, but it's you know, I think you just keep trying and you keep getting a little closer, a little closer, and a little closer, and you just keep doing it, you know, and you either land on something you're okay with for your style, or you just keep studying anatomy, and each time you get, you know, closer and closer. So I would say the main thing is don't beat yourself up too bad to where you don't complete work. And you know, I found myself doing that at times. Oh, I'm not drawing faces right. I got to draw faces for like a week or two straight or whatever I got to do. And then but I was like, almost using it as a way, not using it as a way to not do my work, but basically it was eliminating me from completing work. So never do that. Just keep knocking out the work and get better as you complete your page work. Because if not, you'll just, who knows how much time you'll lose, and then you won't get your books done. If you do books, or even if it's fan art, I would say just keep knocking the stuff out. And, you know, over time you're going to get better and you'll look back and go, oh, wow, I really beat that into submission. I used to struggle drawing faces or forearms or legs. Legs are always tricky for me. That's one of the harder areas. Leg muscles and the way they connect to the hips. So different leg poses will kind of throw me for a loop. Almost ready to fill this guy in. Getting close. What's up? Glad I jumped on. Oh, thanks. Glad you did too. Do you have to know how anatomy do you have to know all anatomy perfectly to work? No, definitely not. I mean, there's a lot of styles where you can tell that, you know, they got a basic understanding of anatomy, but they don't know every part of the body exactly the way it, you know, lands and um, you know, works or whatever. But it's just basically like you have to know certain rules of the body, I think. You know, like I always slaughter the way this is named or whatever. It's something like lateral and distal or medial. I don't know. But anyways, there's an inside and outside to everything in the body. And one side is always different than the other. That's kind of what I was explaining with the forearm. Even with like the leg. Like the leg goes like this, and the outside of the leg looks like this, right? In a basic, crude version. You know, it's like more straight on the inside and more bended on the outside. So once you start to pay attention to stuff like that, it all makes it a little bit easier because you quit like drawing everything even on each side. So that's one part. It goes a lot deeper than that, but that actually applies to a lot of things, that basic kind of rule. So you start to pick up on that. And the other thing is like just study shapes. Like shapes are the best way to get past stuff. Um, like when painters paint, they generally can get a light source and a shadow down rather quickly because they memorize consistencies within the shapes. So like when they paint a cheek, there's almost always a highlight like this on the cheek somewhere, you know, if the light's coming this way. So they can just kind of quickly do that, and they know the light kind of always hits there. And so there's this repetitive behavior, even in light and shadow, that you start to memorize, and then, you know, it doesn't work in every scenario. Sometimes you still have to pull reference and you got to study, but it gets you through a lot of the stumbling blocks or whatever. So you kind of start picking up on that stuff, and it speeds you right up. Okay, so there's that. You probably start filling some of this in now. The fun part. I need help on shadowing my work. Nice. Well, just go ahead and send it over to me, and I'll do your shading for you. I'm very reasonable. I'm kidding. I can't do your shading for you. You got to do your own work. But I do need to make some more videos on shading because it's you know, you can definitely tell on my channel I shy away from that, right? I do like the same videos all the time. Like, I'm gonna draw more people, more poses, love poses, because that's like one of the easier things for me to do. So it's easier for me to teach. You know, just hit the record button and draw some poses. But I need to beef up my knowledge and skill set on shading. Tell you what, man, look at David Finch's work. Gnome Workshop or whatever, but that dude's a shading master. Got some of the best shading techniques in the biz, I think. Uh-oh. I missed something. It's right here, because this border is actually a floating layer. I should have paid attention. There we go. Yeah, I got a few. I appreciate that, UC Boxer. I got a few, but I'm not, you know, my shading's subpar. I know I got to get better at it. Like, I gotta start doing demonstrations where I just shade a series of objects. But I would recommend that. Like if you're wanting to get your shadows better, your shading better, just give yourself some practice activities of just shading basic things. Like one of the things that you can do that, you know, it's kind of seems boring or whatever, and they make you do it in every art class you've ever been in, but they set up a bunch of objects, they set up a couple lights, and they say draw it. And it's boring. And I remember in art school, I was so mad. Like, I want to be drawing cool stuff like superheroes. I don't want to draw that stick sitting on a folded up blanket. But you know, but the thing they're trying to get you to perceive is light, shadow, and real, you know, real applications, the way it really works. And then you learn from that, and then you come over to your fun stuff, your cool stuff, your comics, whatever, and then you implement that, but with your own style. So it is helpful to force ourselves to do those types of practice activities, even though, like I said, for me it was always like, you know, oh, not again. I don't want to draw a stupid stick. Like I remember I'd do that in high school, and then I took a little brief amount of college art classes that I was paying for out of pocket, and I never finished them. But I remember they pulled out the darn stick again, and I'm like, no, no, I don't want to draw a stick ever again. But you know, it's just kind of one of those things. It's like they did it in every class, I guess. But another good one is you can buy those basic shapes, those primitive shapes, and you can arrange those in different ways. Yeah, stick on a blanket. One of the ones that I did not so long ago, and it was actually for Blackstone here, is I grabbed a chrome mixing bowl from the kitchen, and I set that out, and I positioned a couple different lights and some things to reflect into it, and I was trying to figure out how I would do the glares on this character. So that's just kind of an instance of what I'm talking about. You have to think about the application. Let's see. Do you have a go-to artist that you go back to look at for inspiration, ideas, or just free your mind from a rut? Uh, that's a good one. I would say probably McFarlane's work. I mean, I don't look at it as much. I got to see if he's still doing stuff. I love his old stuff. I still thumb through some of those books like for nostalgia. Burn Hogarth will always be one because I just, you know, his books are amazing. I still thumb through those. And I look at a lot of artists like Jim Lee. I love looking at his stuff. You know, I've really been enjoying looking at his work lately. A couple actually is J. Scott Campbell. Man, I never appreciated his stuff back in the day, but now I do. I really like the Disney vibe and the cartoon vibe that he's got and the animated feel. It's so lively. You know, he does a really fantastic job with that. I love the expressions. I've really been paying attention to his expressions. And then I've also been digging, I'll probably slaughter his name, but Pant, he signs his name Pantaleo. He's an Italian dude, and he's got some really cool artwork. I mean, I'm sure you guys probably know about him, but I wish I could say his name right. Pantaleo, goodness. But look up Pant, you know, P-A-N-T. He signs his work that way, and it's really stylized, really neat work. And then Patrick Brown, I like his stuff. I like how he's got a very overly animated vibe. I guess it's all dependent upon what you're really like trying to get better at in your own work, I think is what usually brings it out. And then if you're talking like old masters, it would be like Frazetta. Frazetta's like one of the ones that I'm always inspired to look at if I'm trying to get better at painting. I would say Boris, but I don't like how dark his stuff is. He always got some demonic thing going on in his work. I don't like that, or not all of them, but a lot of them. But Frazetta for me had like, you know, that cool like distortion to his work. I love that about Frazetta. It's like everything was through this looking glass or this cool filter. You know, I guess that's everybody's art is through a filter, but yeah, so lots of different great artists out there. I love admiring Dale Keown when I'm trying to draw like big hulking brutes. I think Dale Keown's the best artist to pay attention to, take notes on. Yeah, you know what? This might be a fun one to ask you guys. Who's the best artist out there? Or you already got a couple up there. I love McFarlane. I like Jim Lee. Yeah, who's the best? That's too much. How about who's the best 90s comic artist out of everybody? Who's the best? See what you guys say. Guys and gals. Anybody? Hello? And nobody responds. Come on. David Finch. All right, good enough. Art Adams is a god to me. John Byrne, the legend as well. Yeah, Adams is pretty darn good. Gotta agree with that. And there's a Jim Lee, yeah. Yeah, they're pretty awesome. I'll tell you, it's one of the things that when I saw these guys draw the way that they do, yeah, I was like, man, I just want to be a comic illustrator. I don't even think I ever thought I could be as good as them. I just knew I wanted to do that. I'm like, God, that's got to be the coolest job ever. Sit around and draw comics, sit around and draw your ideas, or I guess if you're writing for a character, then you're drawing someone else's ideas in a sense. But yeah, definitely wouldn't feel like a job to sit around and draw Spider-Man or Hulk or something like that. Well, at least not until an editor comes at you and says, I need you to redraw 3 of those pages. Yeah, there's 2 for Silvestri back to back. Yeah, Silvestri's awesome. I think he gets underrated in a sense compared to some of those guys like Jim Lee, McFarlane, big names, lots of attention. And I think Silvestri is, in shading, he's probably better than both those guys. I mean, I don't know if you can even say better as it pertains to art. No one's actually better. It's just different styles. But man, he's got some really dynamic shadows. Like it just, heaps of style in his work. But then you got Jim Lee, who's probably the fastest, I would say. I don't know because I don't know these guys. Heard stories, but I think he's probably the fastest. And I think I saw a video where McFarlane was talking about, he said something like Capullo and Jim Lee were 2 of the fastest comic artists he had seen. And it kind of makes you wonder, like, how many pages can these guys slap out in a day? Like how many books could they work on, in a given month? It'd kind of be neat to see that or know that. I mean, I know writers, they can go to town and they can do multiple books and really clean up in that regard, but with artists, it's got to be a lot tougher, I would say. Oh, come on, leave Liefeld alone. He gave us Deadpool, for God's sakes. Deadpool. Those movies are awesome. They're actually probably some of the better, if not the best comic movies. I'd say it's the latest Avengers and I don't know, the Captain Americas were pretty darn good as well. That last Avengers was sweet though. Big fan of that one. Probably already watched that about 4 times. Yeah, Stephen Platt's good too. Lots of shading. I mean, I haven't seen his style lately, but I remember back in the day he'd do a lot of shading. It seemed like just carpal tunnel waiting to happen. But yeah, fantastic work. I collected some of his books when he was working on, what was it, Prophet? I was kind of surprised that character didn't do better. That was another great Liefeld creation, I'm pretty sure, right? Didn't Liefeld create that one too? That was a pretty neat character. Kind of figured that would go to a movie or something, but never tell, I guess. What the big execs see as a worthwhile pursuit. I'm pretty glad they got Ryan Reynolds for Deadpool, though. That was just match made in heaven. That dude nailed that character. Like, literally, I think he nailed that character. He was pretty in love with that character. All right, we almost got him inked in. This is, I probably could have did this a lot faster. One of the ways I could have did it was just filled in the character and then went back with the whiteout pen and tip or whatever. What's up, Madeline? Jim averages a page a day. Yeah, I'm assuming he could do that quicker, and he just, he does what he. I mean, he's like isn't he a publisher now? He's a head publisher at DC or something. But yeah, just watching that guy live stream, I mean, he's so fast that, especially with him working with Scott Williams for inks, it's like, man, I'm sure he could probably hammer out 2 books a month if he wanted to. But being that he's got other things going, I think it's pretty amazing that he's live streaming on YouTube all the time. That's pretty sweet. All right, let me just try to fill that in. Yeah. So what I should have did is just filled them in, knocked it back with the opacity. Then it kind of shows you the bad lines too that I got to clean up. So you just go back through and hit those real quick. And then take your little translucent brush and then get in some of the details. It's really nice for like the finer lines that you want to put in a design like this. You can just kind of, draw those in, those little wrinkles and stuff in there. I remember back in the day before I worked digitally, and I would do this part of the character, I would lose all kinds of little bits of detail. I would draw these shapes in, and then I'd go to ink it in, and the marker would bleed even on the Bristol board, and I would lose a lot of the finer edges. So working digitally, it's kind of nice because you can, you could go as far as you want with this. And the cat's meowing. Hopefully you guys can't hear that. A very needy cat. Like he needs water. How needy he is. No, he just likes the attention. All right, let's read through the comments here. I'll appreciate it. Thank you, Madeline. Appreciate that. When he's doing a page on stream, he'll stop to show something simple like perspective or how to draw a hand. Jim Lee is a machine. Yeah, I love watching his stuff. I mean, I do. I pick up stuff all the time. The dude is a machine, like you said. He's pretty awesome. I think it's cool that he's doing that because, it's like he just likes to share what he's doing. I mean, I know he doesn't need to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not doing it because he needs to make extra money to pay the bills. He's set. He's just doing it to give back. But that's the awesome thing about when you really love what you do. You really love it, you're gonna share and give back anyways, because you're just gonna continue to do it because you're just passionate about it. That's what's so great about doing what you love for a living. I have to go fill some of this in like this. Well, one thing I like about doing these simplified covers, I could almost get this out in a live stream. Not quite. I still gotta finish inking the alien. I actually want to create a brush for the tentacles for the alien, because this part right here, where it's like these overlapping shapes, I know I can make a good brush for that and save a bunch of time, but I always do them by hand because I don't want it to look like a brush. If it looks like a brush, I won't use it because I don't want to be a sellout on my artwork. But I can't say that. It's more important to get the project done. But it's one of those things that's hard for me to let go of that. Like, I want it to look like it's hand done, and if it doesn't, then I don't do it. But getting the books out is more important, I suppose. Okay. All right, well, I better bring this one to a close. I appreciate everybody tuning in and watching this. Is there any final questions? Like, there hasn't been a whole lot of questions on this one, probably because I'm working on my own artwork. But yeah, hopefully that gives you some ideas on how I would ink this type of character. And then, I'll keep going through here and adding in more detail. So you'll see by the end of this, I'll have a lot more, some little cross hatching, some little detail work, just to make it look a little more impressive. But for the most part, that's the design. So any questions? Oh, glad you liked the book, Demar. Hopefully more on the way, but definitely more course content, things like that. Yeah, thanks, Laura. Glad you liked the cover. I'm hoping it does better for the book, and then once I'll probably do better at the coloring because I've learned a lot of things about the colors as well. So I just want to give it a more updated cover. So hopefully it draws some attention. Quick question: do you have an Instagram? And if you would not make one, no, I do have an Instagram. It's Robert_Marzullo. I don't know if I can type it on here. I guess I could, right? It's at Robert_Marzullo, like that. Yeah, maybe for the next one, I'll go ahead and finish this one up off camera, and then I'll come back and finish. Oh, you want to see skin tones? Okay. Or no, it's a different person. Okay, I like skin tones. Guillaume was saying. But yeah, so I'll bring some more streams real soon. I'll try to get on a schedule. Like I said, keep in mind that I will be doing probably an Indiegogo for this, so keep your eyes out for that if you'd like to support. I'll make sure that the rewards are really good for everyone. And make sure to comment on the videos and let me know what you think, what you'd like to see in the future, and that's what I'll get on the channel. So as always, I appreciate you tuning in. Keep drawing, keep having fun, and I will talk to you soon.